In this video, we'll cover the basics of the microblaze and then the AXI protocol. So the regular disclaimer. So always refer to the official documentation as usual. And then, so first of all, what is microblaze? So microblaze is a soft core processor, meaning it is not embedded into the FPGA fabric or it is not embedded into the silicon. So it's a soft core processor, hence you can include it in your design if you want it. So it is majorly used in Xilinx FPGAs. And then, so how to include it? Next, you can include it using the IP integrator tool in the Vivado. So in Xilinx Vivado, we have a tool called as IP integrator. So in block designs, you can include microblaze if you want. Next, it is implemented entirely in the general purpose memory and the logic fabric. So in FPGAs like Arctic 7 or Spartan 7 or Spartan 6, in some those FPGAs, we have the regular logic fabric. So microblaze is implemented on that general purpose logic fabric. So in Zinc, it is also used as a co-processor to the ARM Cortex A9. So for the ARM processor, microblaze can be included as a co-processor to reduce the overall system overhead for the ARM processor. And then it is based on the RISC architecture. It is used in Vivado. So in Vivado, you can include it in your design. Then this was the first soft core CPU architecture to be merged into the mainline Linux kernel source tree. So this was the first soft core CPU to be merged into the mainline Linux. So it's open source. Next is the overview of the microblaze. So as a regular processor will have the peripherals, the microblaze also has the required peripherals. You have the ALU, shift, barrel shift, and then multiplier, divider, etc. The arithmetic logic components. Then you have the program counter. Then you have the instruction buffer here. Then the instruction decoder and the register file, 32 general purpose registers. Things like that. You have the cache from which the instruction buffer will fetch the instruction. Then instruction decode. Same way the RISC processor, the regular RISC processor works. That's the general overview. Next, the available support for peripherals. So in microblaze we have the block design. So in block design we have the drag and drop facility. So in drag and drop you have a lot of peripherals available, such as the multi-channel DMA, streaming FIFO, timer or watchdog, then some IO like UART, USB, quad SPI, GPIO, PWM. For video you have HDMI, a video DMA, and then for networking you have Ethernet, and then controller area network, CAN, that is the CAN interface. And then next, there are 3 preset configurations for the microblaze. That is, since this is a soft core processor, you can choose the preset according to your application. In case you are doing some embedded applications which is not real time, you can just use the microcontroller preset. Or in case you are going to go for a real time application, you can go for the real time processor preset. Or in case you are going to boot Linux or using some embedded operating system like Pita Linux, you can go for the application processor preset. So microcontroller preset has up to 200 DMIPs. So you have a 32-bit processor core, JTAG debug interface, tightly coupled local memory, SPI controller, I2C controller, UART, interrupt, timer, and GPIO. These are a few peripherals that a regular microcontroller will have. So we'll be using the microcontroller preset in our design. So these things will be having few extra like DDR memory controller, and then some memory protection unit, data cache, and then the application will have all these combined, and then memory management and Ethernet. Next, let us look at our microcontroller preset. So the microblaze will be as a soft core processor. So soft core processor will be implemented, as I told you, in the general purpose programmable logic fabric in the FPGA. And then we'll be having the SPI, I2C, UART, all of them in the programmable logic itself. So the tightly coupled local memory will be coupled within the microblaze in the programmable logic fabric. So next we'll look at the AXI. So the reason why I am talking about AXI just after microblaze is because we can't directly interface external peripherals with the microblaze. So we need to have some kind of bus, like, right? Okay, some kind of a bus architecture to interface with the processor. So that is where AXI comes into play. So AXI is part of the AMBA protocol of the ARM. So AMBA stands for Advanced Microcontroller Bus Architecture. So AXI is the latest protocol from AMBA. So AXI is the acronym for Advanced Extensible Interface. So this is the newer protocol from AMBA. So therefore, this is preferred more nowadays. So we'll be using AXI in our designs. So what is AXI? AXI is the acronym for Advanced Extensible Interface. It is part of ARM's AMBA specifications. Then it is used to give point-to-point interconnect that is designed for high performance, high speed microcontroller systems. So in microcontrollers, you can't, in regular ARM microcontroller like STM32, I don't think you'll be having these things. But for when you go for high performance and then high speed, you need to have a kind of bus architecture to interface with the microcontroller for high performance. That is where AXI comes into play. So it avoids bus sharing and therefore allow higher bandwidth and lower latency, so that you can get a higher bandwidth for data intensive applications, and then lower latency. So next we have something called as a transaction in AXI. So transaction is nothing but the transfer of data from one point to another in the hardware is known as a transaction. So in transaction we will have data moving from one point to another point in the it may be a read transaction or a write transaction, or read address or write address, something like that. So that is called as a transaction. So next we'll come to the AXI architecture. So in AXI architecture, we have AXI protocol is based on is burst based and defines the following independent transaction, meaning all these are independent transactions and can happen independent of one another. So the independent transactions are read address, read data, write address, write data, and then write response. So all these are independent of one another and can take place independently. So next there are some additional information. So we'll go to the next slide. So this is the AXI read. So in AXI read we have the AXI master interface and then the AXI slave. So it's similar to the SPI where you have SPI master and then SPI slave. So in so I'm just giving an analogy. So in master interface you have the address and control. So in the address and control will be sent via the read address channel to the slave, and then the slave responds with the read data. So this is how the AXI read works. So in the read transaction, the master interface will send the address and control via the read address channel, and the slave will respond with the read data via the read data channel. So these are independent channels. Next we have AXI write. In AXI write we have the master interface and the slave interface. So first of all we have the write address channel. So the master interface will send the address and control via the write address channel, and the slave and then after sending that, the master interface will also send the write data. This is just the write address, then it will send the write data via the write data channel. Then once this is done, the slave interface will send the write response back to the master interface, just like an acknowledgement signal. So this is via the write response channel. So all these are independent channels, thus offering a very higher bandwidth and then low latency. Next we have something called as the AXI interconnect. So why should we go for interconnect? That's because all this AXI which we saw, AXI and AXI write, this is for a single master and single slave interface, whereas in a regular embedded system we'll have lot of masters and slaves which have to communicate with each other simultaneously. Therefore we have something called as the interconnect, wherein all the masters and slaves interface together in the interconnect. So in the AXI interconnect we'll be able to have independent AXI read and AXI write transactions occurring simultaneously, thus offering higher bandwidth and lower latency. So AXI protocol provides a single interface definition for interfaces between a master and the interconnect, slave and the interconnect, and master and the slave. So what's next? So once this is done, once you have watched this video, the next one will be a hands-on lab. So the first one would be on creating a block design using microblaze. So we'll be using the Vivado tool UVADO 2019.1 to create a block design and include the microblaze, the AXI peripheral, and then the AXI GPIO and AXI UART light. All those things will be including. We'll also include a Verilog module, to integrate a few things. You'll see in the next lab video. Then after once lab 1 is done, and the lab 2 will export the hardware. The exported hardware will be there in the Xilinx SDK. So we'll write a simple C program using some inbuilt libraries of Xilinx SDK to control the GPIOs and just flash some LEDs. So that is the next thing. So these are some resources and acknowledgements. So this video is based on these web resources available, so kindly refer these. So these are some acknowledgements also, and thanks for watching.